Hello guys, welcome to another coding session. And in this one we will go through the CodeCan project. You can see it on screen. And basically we're gonna spend some time on front end. So if you remember, we discussed in one of the other videos, we discussed that for this project we will have a Flutter application. We also checked the possibility of using React and React Native, but most probably for mobile version we will use Flutter application, and I will have another coding session like as a next step with the Flutter for this project. But in this one I want to go through API part and also having a front end, like web-based front end. And for this, let me make screen a bit bigger. So, and for this, what we're gonna do, we will use a very simple web application written in a Go language, and we will use Go template engine for this website. And as a first step, it will be in the same place as our API. So let me show a little of source code for now. So if you remember, we had I basically had two versions of this project. One which is private, and during the video I work on a private version, and then when I have something to share, I share it on this repository. It's a codervlogger/codecn. I will put link in description. So basically, yeah, the version I work, it's a private, and once video is done, I will share the public version. So let me open the whole project for now, and I use Visual Studio Code, as you can see. Let me a bit increase the screen. Yeah, update. So basically, what I have for this project, just a quick reminder. So we have a Flash sub-project and ProfX sub-project. ProfX is more like backend with data mining and etc. And Flash is an API. And recently I deployed this API to my domain for this project, which is api.codecn.com. So that's a response from this API. I will put related videos where you can get more context on like whole project. But for this one, what we're gonna do, we will add also some front-end code to this Go language application. So when we visit, for now probably it will be API codecn, but we need to also consider like using codecn.com as like main domain, root domain. So when you enter codecn.com, we make sure that you get to the web version of the application, and our mobile clients, they use API codecn.com to get like the data from our backend system. Yeah, that's the plan. And let's move forward with the plan. So as I said, plan is to implement frontend, and frontend will be based on Go languages template, HTML template. This is something also that I didn't use up to this point, so I will go through this documentation and add it to the Flash project. So before we start reading documentation, let me open only Flash part, because on my root directory I have both sub-projects. Let me open this on the Flash. And the reason why I open it separately, because IDEs like Visual Studio Code and Golang, for example, they work better when you have like this project, like you open root of the Go language, like a Go language project. In our case, it's this folder. So for now, what we have Kubernetes configuration, we have up.go, flash.go as a cmd flash.go as an entry point, and then up.go, which returns our JSON response that you saw here, this one. So and plan is to have also another endpoint returning some simple HTML. So first of all, we start with, let's put a plan. So first of all, we implement return simple hello world HTML. This is the first plan, and then we need to connect this database, so we return some actual data from database. Connect to database. That will be our next step. Okay, so for simple HTML, now I am reading this package HTML template documentation, and Go language, it has template package where we can start parsing data. Let me see. So basically, the thing here is that in your template you can define some kind of variables, and you send these variables from codebase. That's one thing that we need to implement. And as a next step, the variables that you pass to your template engine, you can make it like more structured. So first step will be, probably what I want to do as a first step is just to return HTML page, maybe even like with a static one. Let's see how we can do it. So in Go's official documentation, it's a good in terms of like having all the details, understanding like each details on how you can parse this context variable and etc. But to me it was important like how you can just like define your structure, define some HTML file, and then parse this structure to your HTML file. That's the only thing I need right now. And by very quick search, I found this website, gowebexamples.com, and like it's quite easy, like shortly shows how you can define your data model. So basically, this data model can be like very different depending on your on a task that you are solving. But it gives like very short explanation on how you can define this structure, how you can use this variable. For example, you define this structure and set a variable, and when you pass it to the HTML page, you can read fields by using this. And also there is a control structures, how you like explaining what these special symbols means. And the thing here, if you never worked with like web frameworks, there is one difference. For example, in frameworks like Django, I am from Python background and also ASP.NET and VC background, and usually what you have like your controller, which is Python code or any other code, programming language code, and then you have template file, and in this template file you have specific symbols defining where you have programming language specific code and whether you have like template specific code, which is in our case a markup language, for example HTML, and that's why I will if you want to like dive into the details, you will need to know these symbols, what they mean, how you can, for example, use conditions in your templates and etc. But for now, what I want to just go copy paste this code, of course. Let's do this one first. So first of all, we need to define how it will work in terms of our application. since we want to start with a very simple one, I will just use up.go. We already have some structure. It will be probably changed. So I have this register method where I register my handlers. So I will go and add another one. Let's say handle func, and it will be hello for now. And I need to define a method. Let me do another copy paste. So it will be hello road. For now, yeah, let's for now don't try not to use gzip, so we can later check. Okay, I need to pass under function. I did this change because of gzip library that I use, or gzip, I think it's my custom implementation with some minor updates. Yeah, basically, since I have some structure to return a gzip version of the source code, it doesn't get my default route method because I made some changes here. But I will quickly search it so we can update. But basically, yeah, we will have some method. I will fix it in a second. But for now, what we need, we will have some method which will return this page. And as we already know, we need to register this. So now we have very simple router. What I did, I added another handler. So on root we have our previous handler, previous route, which is JSON API, and I added another one /hello for our new route. And in this method, in this handler, what I do, I have a template. I define a template. We will need this layout HTML. I will add it in a second. Then I add a need data. So that's a variable that we need to move. We need to get from database, or it can be like it's our basic data source, and then we parse it. Like template has a function saying execute. You can read documentation. So execute applies a parse template to the specified data object. So basically what it does, we send it our response writer, which is a way how you return your HTML page, let's say, and also you provide your context variable, and this variable will be used in your HTML file, so you can get data in your HTML page. So let me add this HTML part as well. So, and in this HTML template, we get our page title, and then this range, it's like iteration over to-dos item, and depending on we also use condition depending on this field done. We have like different version of like so it's basically like if you have done this field value is true, you can make it a checkbox, or it's checked or it's not checked. But for this we need to have class. I don't want to use class for now. What we will do, we will just add a new text saying it's done. It is done. And now you can try to run this application. So I will go back, go run cmd. Yeah, we need to move to the flash. Go run cmd flash.go. I expect to have some errors, but surprisingly it is running. So let me test it. Localhost, is it 8080 by default? I forgot what was the default port. Oh, we need to provide it, so there is no default value, I guess. Stop is, let's say, 8080. It's running. This is our root. Yeah, and this is a page that we just designed. And what we can do now, we can a bit play with it. So we can go back and, for example, let's add more items. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And since it's a compiled language, we need to compile or just run it again. Yeah, and we see the output. So this is very simple way of returning HTML page. I will put these 2 pages also in the description, so you can go through it. As you saw, I just did copy paste. Now when we know how to send, now when we know how to send data from your Go code, Go language application to the HTML part, we can try to make the same for with the database. So what I will try now, in our backend application, which is so in a KN project, I have profx, if you're not familiar with this project. And in this profx, I read and write from database. And I actually can show the database. 1 second. And usually during the development, I use Golang's built-in support for services, and by using it I can connect to the database, and I will directly connect to the database I have on a cloud. I use the digital engine for this, and structure is quite simple actually. So now I'm checking the system logs, which is basically when this backend application works, it generates some logs, and we can see this. And once I have this connection, I can go to the database and show the structure. So this is our database structure. We have multiple tables, and goal for now is to try to get, we can try to get these resources. Let me show the structure of these resources. This is resource table, keeps the basically it's like parsed web page, like link to the parsed web page, and I parse web page with development or engineering related articles. Let me switch the screen again. Yeah. And we can try to show these links on our website. It's very hard to code website when you have only very simple page. But anyway, let's try to render these links here. And for this, we need to introduce a database in our another project. Let me try to make it. So I will open also another project in Golang, because For this kind of stuff, Golang is, for now, maybe I'm just used to it. For now, it's much more useful. So I'm trying to open this project. 1 second. So now I have both these projects on the screen. You can see on the left side, it's our backend project. On the right side, our API, and now it's like our web frontend project. And for my backend project, it's more advanced for now, and I have a storage package with database migration scripts and also crawlers, which is my interface and also implementation for database connection. For this step, what I want to do, I want to move this package, like basically just copy paste this package to my Flash project so I can use this functions. But ideally what I should do, I just need to like maybe move this database implementation to a separate package and link to this package from both projects, or just like implement them differently, because needs for my data miner might be absolutely different from my front-end application, and that's why it makes sense to separate them. And also I can show you a repository interface I have for this project. So this is basically not this one, scrapper exported, not this one, crawler repository. So this is basically all the functions I need from database or data source, and this package implements this method. So for example, if you let me split the screen, I hope it's visible. So let me split like this. So basically you can see in my database repository I have get link. It relies on the domain model and a string. And in this implementation, I have this get link implemented. So that's why I can use this implementation and pass it to the interface where I need it. That's why, since this method is like this interface is too specific for this project, when we copy paste it to the front-end part, maybe we will need to refactor it and remove methods that we will not use. But for now, let's just start with something. So that's why what I will do, I will just, as I said, copy paste this package, keep the name, keep the name for now the same. Yes, and also I will copy paste migration scripts, which is very bad way of doing it, because there might be some migration conflicts, but for now, I want to make this project like we will incrementally improve it. That's why let's start with something. Let's also, yeah, this project doesn't have dependencies. We will need to think about our domain models. Probably I will need to copy paste also some domain models. Configuration is okay for now, because we need this high-level configuration, for example, database, password, and etc. And since they will be deployed to the same Kubernetes cluster, we will keep these configuration settings. What we will need to refactor, or at least delete from this one, is unused methods. But let's start with the domain model. So let's create another Go profile, call it domain. Well, it will not work because we need to have this package. Okay, let's do like this. Okay, let it be domain. And we will need these domain models here. So domain. It's also another bad way of doing things. Because I'm again copy-pasting from one project to another and I have code duplication, we will need to refactor this at some point. For this video, for this part, my goal is to get this data from database and render it on a screen. Yeah, let's keep to this logic now. So it's a flash, it's not domain. So do I have Go mode? I do have Go mode. So I finally found what was the problem. For some reason my Golang, it was not recognizing my project structure for Flash project. And the reason I tried with multiple options. I tried even set this Go path manually to the project folder and etc. But for some reason I think it was related to the Go modules. I'm not sure why it didn't like restore it based on my Go mod. But anyway, I ended up like deleting this idea folder, which is folder generated by Golang, and just reopening the project. But I spent like 15 minutes, maybe even more, just to understand what's going on. And also I was thinking like maybe because of this confusion project structure, it doesn't recognize. I made some project structure refactoring and moved source code into the internal and split it by application and infra. This is kind of the architecture like pattern. I think terminology for this is onion it's not layered but onion, which is explained in much more details in clean architecture book. And also there is another name, hexagonal architecture. But I think I will have another video just for project structure. For now, what we can focus on, so basically I have the same flash.go, which is entry point to my application. Because of my refactoring, I updated, now it is under Flash internal app. And I have like, if we keep Go's convention, I should call it like only new without app, because it's already in app folder, app package. But for now I will skip this kind of issues and try to like just start up this application with a database. So for this I need to rename it because I have already this name used as a package name. So let's say application instance for now. It's a very bad naming, but okay. And also I have database, and in this database or storage I need to have domain. Now my domain is under flash internal app, and we need to refer it. So app, so everywhere we have domain. So it's a domain.link, yeah, domain. We need to replace it with app. We can do it by edit, find, replace. But yeah, so app dot yeah, now it should be okay. We need to synchronize this package. Yeah, so, and for our database to work, we need to have all these environment variables. I will do it in a second. Before we dive into the details of this configuration, let's first see what we need for our database. Basically, we have multiple methods for saving links, etc., etc. You can check this source code from GitHub repository I mentioned in the beginning. So you can find this implementation here, and then and understand, for example, what is article is doing, save link, and what's queries for these methods. For now, I will focus on only methods that I need, which is getting these links from database. So we have very similar methods, which is load rules and load sources. I want to update them. So basically, I will again copy paste. It will be called load resources, because in database, let me show database again. We have resources table. This is my table. I need to get this table. So it will be load everything from resources, and we will start to parse it. And we need to have a domain model where it will be like mapped from table structure to the Golang structure. And I think I have a method for type for this. This is our type for the source. I can just use it. So we will query source rules, fail to query resources. Let's go one by one. So we will have list of the resources. It's called resources. And crucial point here is how we will parse it. Since I don't use any ORM or object relational mapping, which is like in Golang, in most of the programming language, you can use ORM to bind your database structure, database tables to your language specific classes or types. But since I don't use any ORM, I will need to do it manually. And crucial point is I have to do it based on this order. So since I am saying that get me every field, maybe I need to specify not all the columns, but needed columns. And we need for now we need only URL and maybe title. Do I have a title in the database? I think for now I don't get titles in my data mining tool. That's why we might need only URL for now. But let me see. Where is my scripts? It's my scripts, queries. Let's execute this query again. Yeah, I don't have title, I have URL. Maybe what we need is name of the source. URL and date. Let's use it. So I will need to have source URL and create it. This is columns that I need to get from database, and now my scan becomes a bit easier because I need to say it's not a source, it's a resource. What do you want? Okay, yeah. So I refactored every mention of this source, this resource. No, okay. So and if you get confused with this refactoring, ask me in the comments. I will specify and I will try to answer you, because I'm assuming that you also check source code and you see the same lines, but I understand that it can be a bit tough to get to exactly understand what I am doing. So in this case, just ask me questions in the comment section. So for now, let's continue. So I know that we will have source URL and created. So I will put the same order: source URL and created. We have created. So this is all. And from this point, it should work. Only difference is I need to also update my return type, which will be list of the resources. This is my update. I think it should work. Why it's red? I don't have created. Okay. Why I don't have date? Yeah. Because I don't embed model. I think in model I have only one field. Yes. So the problem was there was not created field, and reason because for this resource model I was not embedding model. Now I do it, but how did I get it in table if I don't embed it? Did I delete it by mistake? So resource. It's not created. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, let's test this. So now when I have this let me think for a second. So now when I have this method, we need to run database, try to connect to the database, and get this tables data. And for this we need to have database running. So what I will do in my profx project, if I go back, profx, I have make target, make. Okay, why it doesn't show make related comments? Okay, so in my another project, which is like a backend project, I have this make file, and I can start a database. I use MySQL, and I can start this database with these commands. So I will just say recreate. So this command will, if there is already an running MySQL, it will recreate it, delete, and then create it again. And we can even connect to this database from here. When I have database, I need to also make migration, which means that since we just created this, since we just created this database instance, there is no data structure for tables and everything related. So I need to execute the application to generate these tables. And in my backend application, I have a method called migrate, which does exactly the same stuff. It will try to generate missing database tables. And to run it, we will need to run go run cmd prof x go with a migrate option. Database string success, no migration errors. And now if we go to the database, we should have everything here. Yeah, so now we have these tables. And what we can do, we can try to run crawler. I forgot the command name. It's crawl. Again, it's our backend application, so and it stucks at some point when I run it locally. I'm trying to have a mock server just for local tests. I'm going to have like mock server with example parsable websites. So when I run it locally, I don't ping actual websites, but I ping local websites for demo links. It's stuck again. So what we can do, yeah, and I cannot even stop it. I also tried to put a timeout, but for some reason it doesn't react to my timeout, and I think it stuck at the point of getting this website links. So if I go to this implementation, it starts at this method. So it tries to get the website and tries to go through all the links in the website. And it starts at this point, but I am not sure how. I tried to make a timeout, but it doesn't work. Let me try it again. Maybe it will work this time. Like this, yeah. Let's open another terminal. Stories, I'm back, again, private, and it's in profx, go, run, crawl. Come on. Yeah, you can ignore this Mozilla, why is it stuck in it? Okay. Do I have anything in database? No, I don't have. I do have resources, I guess. What we can do, we can disable Mozilla, so we can remove it if it's stuck on Mozilla. Proof. Okay, it's a bit. I need to open terminal windows again and again, but I guess okay, we don't have any option. We can try to stop process. I will try this version. I will try one more time manually. Profx, go run cmd profx.com. I forgot to specify crawl. Unbelievable, it sucks also in GitHub. I think it's something different. I think problem is not on these websites. I guess it's something with my network configuration. Okay, this time what I will do, I will try to get the process name and then kill this process, so we can stop execution. So it's yeah, you see, it's stopped. I have another execution here, and I guess 26, 78. Just yeah, okay. So let me try to remove this one as well. I still believe that some websites will work without any problem, so let me try. Okay, it worked for LinkedIn. Yeah, it worked for some websites. That's very good news. Uh, I know that it is working without any problems for on my remote server, but for some reasons it doesn't work at all for some websites. But it's okay for now. So we can stop, so we don't abuse this website. Stop, please. I assume that we already have some data to test. Stop. I will need to solve this problem. I don't like how it works now. Okay, so let's try database. We should have something in our resource table. Wonderful, we have more than something. Okay, so now we can try to get this data in our front-end project. So for this, I have a method, database method. I will for now directly use my storage in my application. So in a place when we were getting this to do, we will have a database connection. Database connection with I'm trying to get the name at this one, new. So what it does it return? It returns so at first I need to have configuration, and then on the configuration I make a config new, and configuration is this one. So about the configuration, as I said, we can set up this configuration based on environment variable. Yeah, and based on environment variables, and you can see what I use for Profex. Let's also use the same. Maybe we can do it here. So in my entry point, I will initialize configuration. This getenv is something specific that I made myself. Let's copy paste this one as well. We don't need to ping for now. If we have a connection, we are happy. So what I can do in config, let's say we have database and error, and we deconfig dot new, which should return a database instance, and we will use this database instance to initialize our application. So database error, database success for now, and I will pass this database to our application. Server version, and let's say database, and type of the database is db, crawler db, and application, we need to keep this in our application. Let's say database is crawler db, it's a pointer, db. Yeah. So we pass our database, and here we finally can use it. Let's say our resources, and error. So it will be application dot database dot load resources. If I think for now I will skip this error, and what I will do, I will go through these resources. Okay, so and for each resource, for now I will use the same data structure which we had to do. Let's just make list of the to-dos. You might ask why we use to-do, because I am too lazy to create another structure for resources and pass it to the front end. Since we have already some template structure, let's use it for now. And I will assign this to-dos, append to-dos, a new to-do, and title is v.url. Okay, done is false. Okay, and now when we have this to-do list, we don't need this fake list, we can use to-dos. And I guess that's it. So now if we don't have any mistake or error in our code base, we should be okay. So I also passed database here. So on this point, we usually shouldn't use database, like we directly use our exact or particular database implementation, which is in our case MySQL based database, and we don't use any interfaces or contracts to like have some abstraction layer. For this video, let's focus on how we have it now. And then later we introduce interface and make it like in a proper way. So let me just check it again, think about it again. So we have database, we pass it to the application, and the application uses the same instance of the database to request the data. And now I think we can execute our application. So it's already running. I will stop and run it again. And also please mind that we have this database running. So our database is this one. This is our database. Yeah. So let's run. We have import cycle. Yeah, because our application uses our database and our database uses our application, which is very, very bad. Maybe to avoid it, let's for now try to introduce very simple interface, very simple database interface, and make our application. Does it solve our problem? Yeah, it should solve our problem. So in our application, I will have another file saying database, and in this file I will have only interface implementation, so something like this. Crawler repository, no. Let's say resources repository, and I will have only one function which will be load resources, and it will return list of the resources or error. And now we will have abstraction layer. Yeah, we will have abstraction layer in our application, and instead of specifying exact database type, we will use this repository. So where is our repository? Yeah, in here we say that it is a resource repository. And since it's a interface, we don't need to make it explicitly a pointer. So, and also here we say our repo is resource repository. It's a repo. Okay, domain, database. And now when we initialize our database, since our database implements this function inside, we can clearly pass it. And I think now we don't have dependency like circular import. Let me see. Yeah, we are good, but we have one error, which is domain in crawler line 133. Crawler line 133. Okay. It should be up. Okay, at least it's running. Let's see, can we get the data? No, we cannot get data. Okay, we have error. Null pointer reference. So one way of catching this kind of errors is, of course, debugging. I think we can try it very easily, so I will add a configuration. And say that we need to build exact application, which is flash.go. Go tool arguments, blah blah blah. Program arguments, and program argument is we need to specify a port. Okay, and try to run it. Stop. I think I made a mistake with passing this one. It should be here. Yeah. Try to run it again. Yeah, now it's running on the correct port, so I can stop and run it as a debug in a debug mode. Yeah. So it's running in debug mode, so I can do this. It will stop at this breakpoint, so which I specified. This is our breakpoint. Now we can go one by one. This also means that up to this point there was no error, which is very good news. So so we get these resources. That's a very good news. So basically, we load from database, so which means that error is somewhere else. So we have 130 links. So I will jump to this line. Data is also generated. This is very good news. So, okay, we have something wrong in our template, I guess. Let me see. It happens in template or not? Does it stuck again? No. And we didn't get anything. So I assume it's happening in data. And let me. Okay, now I see. The problem is when I did a refactoring of our structure, I've moved also our layout HTML. So now it is under resources HTML, and I suppose that's a problem. Let me try to execute again. We just skip this part. Yes, finally. Yeah, this is list of our links. I think that's enough for this video. It's already too long. I will wrap up everything we did in a shorter version videos, so make sure to check them. But if you watched to this point, thank you very much. Please make sure to check this repository, and also make sure to subscribe so you will not miss next coding sessions. Let me make this video bigger so you can see me. So make sure to subscribe and check this repository. If you have anything to comment, to ask, please put them in the comments so I will check. And thank you. See you in another video. Bye bye.